Hello everybody, my name is Graham Elwood. Thank you so much for watching The Political Vigilante. So we're talking a lot about Medicare for all, and you know, there's Bernie's plan is the only one I've heard that's an actual. Tulsi says she has this single player plus. I don't know what that is. Liz Warren talks like Bernie, but we know her daughter works for the private healthcare lobby. Her daughters gave $45,000 to the Working Families Party, who then endorsed Liz Warren, because Liz Warren will protect health insurance companies and big pharmaceuticals. She talks progressive, but we know her voting record. Bernie Sanders has been talking about healthcare as a human right for like 3-4 decades. He's been talking about this. But you know who was one of the first people to talk about it? And I don't see any of these so-called neoliberal pundits ever talking about this particular speech. We never hear this speech from JFK.
Now, why are we here? What is the issue which divides and arouses so much concern? I will take a case which may be typical. A family which may be found in any part of the United States. The husband has worked hard for his life and he is retired. He might have been a clerk or a salesman or on the road or worked in a factory, stores or whatever. He's always wanted to pay his own way. He does not ask anyone to care for him. He wants to care for himself. He has raised his own family. He has educated them. His children are now on their own. He and his wife are drawing Social Security. It may run $75, $100, $125 in the higher brackets. Let's say it's $100. And he has a pension from where he worked, the results of years of effort. Now, therefore, his basic needs are taken care of. He owns his house. He has $2,500 or $3,000 in the bank. And then his wife gets sick. And we're all going to be in a hospital, 9 out of 10 of us, before we finally pass away, and particularly when we're over 65. Now she is sick, not just for a week, but for a long time. First goes the $2,500. That's gone. Next, he mortgages his house, even though he may have some difficulty making the payments out of his Social Security. Then he goes to his children, who themselves are heavily burdened because they're paying for their house, and they're paying for their sicknesses, and they want to educate their children. Then their savings begin to go. This is not a rare case. I talked to a member of the Congress from my own state a week ago who told me he was going to send his daughter away to school, but because his father had been sick for 2 years, he could not do it. And Congressman, I'll pay $22,500 a year. And that,
which I just want to be clear, $22,500 a year back in 1962 when he said this, was a pretty decent wage back then. This is a decent wage back then. Not, I don't know what that would be the equivalent now, but this the $22,500 back in 1962 was a decent wage.
More than most people get. So therefore now, what is he going to do? His savings are gone, his children's savings, they're contributing, though they have responsibilities of their own, and he finally goes in and signs a petition saying he's broke and needs assistance. Now, what do we say? We say that during his working years, he will contribute to Social Security as he has in the case of his retirement, $12 or $13 a month. When he becomes ill, or she becomes ill over a long period of time, he first pays $90 so that people will not abuse it. But then let's say he has a bill of $1,500. This bill is not that we're talking about Mr. Anderson's bill and Mr. King solve everything, but let's say it's $1,500, of which $1,000 are hospital bills. This bill will pay that $1,000 in hospital bill. And then I believe that he and the effort he makes in his family can meet his other responsibilities. Now, that does not seem such an extraordinary piece of legislation 25 years after Franklin Roosevelt passed the Social Security Act.
25 years after FDR passed the Social Security Act, a huge, huge piece of legislation that saved people. You got to understand, after the Great Depression, America had, I don't know what the exact number, it had 30-some% unemployment. I mean, it had the Dust Bowl. It had people living in shacks and shanty towns. There was no safety net. FDR pushed hard to put a safety net in there, and capitalists tried to have him killed. They actually went to Smedley Butler. I've shown that video on this. Smedley Butler, the Marine Corps general, who said capitalists came to him to stage a coup to get FDR out of power because building the safety net was bad for the capitalists. Let's back to JFK in 1962, asking for universal health care.
This is not a campaign against doctors because doctors have joined with us. This is a campaign to help people meet their responsibilities. We do not cover doctors' bills here. We do not affect the freedom of choice. You can go to any doctor you want. The doctor and you work out your arrangements with him. We talk about his hospital bills. All these arguments were made against Social Security at the time of Franklin Roosevelt. They're made today. And then other people say, why doesn't the government mind its own business? What is the government's business is the question. This bill serves the public interest. It involves the government because it involves the public welfare. The Constitution of the United States did not make the President or the Congress powerless. It gave them definite responsibilities to advance the general welfare, and that is what we're attempting to do.
Advance the general welfare of its citizens. That's what JFK was talking about. He said the criticisms of this bill that he's trying to pitch, a specific bill to give people health care, to give people help. He's like, I'm not going to tell people what doctor to go. You can go to whatever doctor you want. Again, they made the same crazy arguments about this bill back in '62 that they're making about Medicare for all. Oh, Bernie's bill is going to cost $34 trillion. He's going to kick 164 people off of their health care. You can pick whatever doctor you want under Bernie's plan. He's talking about the role of government is to actually be of service to the people, to make their lives better, not be beholden to lobbyists. Shocking that he got killed, huh? He said scatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And weird. Magic bullet went scurrying around sideways. That Lee Harvey Oswald made an impossible shot and the bullet turned around. Makes sense.
And then I read that this bill will sap the individual self-reliance of Americans. I can't imagine anything worse or anything better to sap someone's self-reliance than to be sick, alone, broke, or to have saved for a lifetime and put it out in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. This argument that the government should stay out, that it saps our pioneer stock. I used to hear that argument when we were talking about raising the minimum wage to $1.25. The fact of the matter is, what saps anyone's self-reliance is working 60 hours at straight time, or working at 85 or 95 or $1 an hour.
I've studied a lot of Kennedy, man. I've never heard this speech. Why was this never played to me? Why did I have to go digging? Thank God for YouTube. I got a lot of issues with YouTube, throttling my numbers and stuff like that. But the good thing is people dug up these speeches and now we can all get them. These speeches were hidden. I never watched these in school. I never saw a documentary that talked about this. I saw him talk about the Berlin Wall. I asked not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. Great speech. That we're going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Great speech. Why are we not talking about this? The same arguments that he's calling out as bullshit in '62, they're trying to bring those back. And those idiots like Donnie Deutsch go on Bill Maher and say I've earned the right to spend money on whatever health insurance I want.
In England, the entire cost of medicine for people of all ages, all of it, doctors, the choice of doctors, hospitals, from the time you're born to the time you die, are included in a government program. We are now talking about doing most of the countries of Europe did years ago. The British did it 30 years ago. We are behind every country pretty nearly in Europe in this matter of medical care for our citizens. We are concerned with the progress of this country. And those who say that what we are now talking about spoils our great pioneer heritage should remember that the West was settled with two great actions by the national government. One, in President Lincoln's administration, when he gave a homestead to everyone who went west, and in 1862 he set aside government property to build our land-grant colleges. This cooperation between an alert and progressive citizenry and a progressive government is what has made this country great, and we shall continue as long as we have the opportunity to do so. This is the only way we can secure action to keep this country moving ahead, to have places to educate our children, to have decent housing, to do something about the millions of young children who leave our schools before they graduate. Every day I am reminded of how many things were left undone. 30 years ago they provided that no drugs be put on the market which were unsafe for hogs and for cattle. We want to take the radical step of doing the same for human beings. Anyone who says that Woodrow Wilson, as great a president as he was, and Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman, that they did it all and we have nothing left to do now are wrong. We ask you, the citizens of this country, the responsible and thoughtful doctors, the hospital administrators, all those who face this challenge of educating our children, finding work for our older people, finding security for those who have retired, all who are committed to this great effort of moving this country forward, come and give us your help.
I see why my Irish grandmother would never say one bad word about that guy. She just couldn't. Anytime I'd bring up, well, you know, like, he knew about Vietnam, or she's just like, nope. The capitalists have been, Chris Hedges calls it a 4 decades long corporate coup. There's plenty of fair criticisms to put on JFK, but man, look what he was trying to do. Look what he was trying to do. This was in '62. Like a year later, they killed him. 5 years later, they killed his brother, who was taking these ideas to the next level. Bobby took it to the next level. That's leadership. And show this to all your neoliberal friends, or anybody that's like Medicare for All is crazy, or anything like, oh, Bernie's pie in the sky. In 1962, he said, we're behind Europe. They did this years ago. England did it 30 years ago. Because back then it was a big, like, we were in this space race with the Soviets. We were in an arms race. So there was all this, like, America's got to be number one. We were just, you know, this is 15 years, this is 17 years after the end of World War II. And it was like, we got to be number one at everything. We're behind. We're behind Europe. And today we are. Denmark and Sweden and all these countries have a higher quality of life because they've got free health care and all this stuff. The UK's been slowly undermining their health care. One of the things Jeremy Corbyn has been fighting for. Listen to what this man said. Watch this speech over and over and share it on all your social media. When they try to tell you, how are we going to pay for it? Medicare for All's pie in the sky. He's asking, he's demanding that government do better for its citizens. He demanded it. He demanded it. He felt bad when it wasn't accomplished. Thanks for watching the show, everybody.
Now, why are we here? What?
We'll just leave it with JFK right there. Like, subscribe, share these videos. I'm member supported. I do this because of you and for you, and you keep me going. So the more people that subscribe, the more people that view these videos, the more we can grow the channel. Look, I started 2.5 years ago with 164 subscribers. We now have 55,000 or more than that now. So the lights, the sound, you guys have all paid for it. So please go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. You can get bonus content for as little as $5 a month. And you can go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you get, it's a blockchain cryptocurrency platform, another great way to support the show. Watch the ads all the way through. When you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Come out to the Progressive Comedy Tour in November. Ron Placone and I are in Australia, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, and Perth. December 13th, we're doing Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. Progressive Comedy Tour also is going to Hollywood, December 14th at the Sycamore Tavern. And that is getting us ready for 2020. We are going to be out at least once a month doing the Progressive Comedy Tour. February, we're going to Tucson, San Francisco. We're going to be in Sacramento. We're going to Orlando and Miami. Those ticket dates are up. We'll be adding Tampa. We're going to Seattle and Portland, and a bunch of other cities. Go to grahamelwood.com for all your tour dates. Thanks for watching.